Time to pay the check. The pen is truly mightier than the sword.
I don't think Uncle Bingo knew what he was talking about. Because in a fight, I would much rather have this than this. But today, we're going to take a look at this awesome, custom Uncle Bingo. Very excited, guys. We're going to review one of my favorite villains from one of my favorite movies, and there's a lot of backward stuff going on, so let's jump right into it. First of all, this is a custom 1/4 scale Joker from the '89 Batman Mime variant statue. Did you get all that? Let's do it again. This is a custom 1/4 scale Joker statue from the '89 Batman movie, and it's the Mime variant. And I actually got two of these. Not two mimes, but two of these statues. The other one is the normal version, and we are going to review this one first. And there's a lot of similarities because the sculpt is almost identical other than some of the switch outs and obviously the paint. So today we are just going to review this piece. In a few days or a week from now, we are going to unbox, assemble, and not only review the differences on the Joker regular piece, forgot what I was going to say, but we're also going to look at some variances of who's the best Joker. It used to be, was it Jack Nicholson or was it Heath Ledger, and now there's a new person in the game, so we all know it's Jared Leto, so I said it. I'm just fucking with you, DC people. But very excited to get this piece. It is my first piece from this custom group. We don't talk about where customs come from. And of this Mime variant, they only made 10 pieces. And I absolutely love the '89 Batman. I loved Keaton. I loved Joker. It was one of the first DC movies out there, other than, obviously Christopher Reeve as Superman. I remember seeing this in San Francisco, and I was very young. I was under 12 years old because I don't want to reveal my age, because I'm hiding from the law. But they oversold the seats because back then in '89 they didn't have electronic systems like they do now. And my family and I, we actually had to sit on the stairs and watch the movie. I didn't even notice I was sitting on the stairs because it was so amazing. And on the review of Joker, we're going to talk more about that to kind of fill stuff in. But today we're just going to straight out review this guy. They made 10 of these Mime variants. That's it, just 10. So I'm very, very lucky to own one. Let's do the measurements really quick. I love him because he's 1/4 scale and he doesn't take up a lot of space, which is our enemy as collectors. He's right at about 23 inches tall, 7.5 inches deep, and probably at the widest point he's about 9 inches, which is fantastic. He's going to go with all my 1/4 scale DC pieces. I have a ton of Jokers, and I'm going to show a picture of those on the next review. So let's dive in. We're going to review him using the extreme scale, which is a 1 through 5 scale essentially. T is trash on the far left. X is extreme, or 5 out of 5. And my initial thoughts on this piece, love him. I absolutely love him. I think the paint and sculpt are nothing to write home about, but it was just a knockout of the park. And one other thing before we jump into the review, I was really impressed with the speed of production on this. Most time with customs, it's very slow. I want to say it was under 6 months, crazily enough. And price on each piece, I should have looked this shit up. But it was, I think, $800 or $900 for each one, and you got a discount if you bought both. It was right in there, and shipping from China wasn't too bad. I got a little discount on shipping because I got 2 as well. But let's start with the concept of this piece. And what's really important here is a concept, when it comes to a movie statue, has to be true to the movie, in my opinion. Otherwise, you immediately lose points. Now, with this guy, there's a lot of different things going on. We have a ton of switch outs we're going to look at during design. Some of the switch outs are very true to the movie and the concept, and some are not, which we'll talk about. However, as you saw in the scene, this Joker was only in the movie for less than a 5-minute scene. And there's not really a lot going on, but we know that the switch outs I currently have on him, the pen and the baton and the hat, were part of that scene. So starting at the bottom here, This is a conceptual part of the concept where it wasn't exactly from that scene because he's standing on a building top, and this is kind of your traditional Gotham. Buildings with big figure heads on it. It says the Joker right on the front of it. Kind of the stained glass window. And it's this awesome gold color, which I like. It just pops. It sticks out. That's what she said. And then as you move up, he is standing there in a museum pose. He's wearing his full-on mime uniform, his white and black pants and shoes and jacket. And he's kind of, as I said, it changes a little bit depending what switch outs you have, and because there's tons of them. But showing off the true Joker, it almost looks like he's ready to throw the pen on his left hand as he did in the movie. So I think it sticks really well with the movie. It accomplishes it from the feet up. Down below, not really, but what would you do for the base? Would you do the stairs? Would you do the pavement that the scene was in that you saw quickly at the beginning? I'm not really sure how I would do it, but I think they executed the concept really well. It's true to Jack Nicholson, or Jack Napier, as he was in the movie. I think I said that right. Likeness is more to me about the design part of the review. So for concept, I think I give this a W, a 4 out of 5. It is done very well. It accomplished exactly what you wanted to accomplish. And speaking of design, let's start out with the likeness and then we'll get to the switch outs. Really quick, another part of the design we always talk about is, did everything fit? It did. There was no issues. The base is one piece. His body minus his hands and his portrait are another piece. And then you have the number of switch outs we're going to look at. And then on the next video, you'll actually see the unboxing and the assembly. Excuse me. I burped. That's what went on there. But with design, let's look at the likeness here. I think there's two parts to this likeness. First is his body. He seems big. And I don't know if his clothes are baggy on him. I don't know if they're just showing that dad bod that Jack Nicholson portrayed in the movie. He wasn't the most in shape guy, but they're really emphasizing that. And I'm not sure if I like it. I don't know how accurate it is to the movie. The other part is the portraits. Here's a close-up of one of them. I think the likeness on all of them is about 9 out of 10. It's 90%, which is very good. We actually paused the video, my son and I did, with looking at one of the portraits. It's very, very close. It's not 100%, but it's done very well. The one thing that 10% that's off, it's a little bit more cartoony, which you will see on the close-ups of the paint and the sculpt. As more to a cinema movie. It's more cartoony, at least in my opinion. But the shape of the body is in the huge pants. His hands look a little bit big. That's what's really throwing me off. So I don't like that. But let's talk about all the switch out options. You have a number of them. So on the left hand, as you saw here, he's holding a feather pen, which he essentially murders one of the city officials with. Another switch out option on the left hand is actually right here. He can hold his hat. Obviously, you would not want to do this while he has the portrait with the hat on. So we're going to look at all the different portrait options in a second here. But he's tipping his hat over here. Here is the first portrait, the one you saw where he is wearing his top hat. And we'll do close-ups of each of these portraits. And his mouth is closed, his lips pursed. Then kind of that same portrait without the hat on. Same expression, same paint. And the last portrait, his mouth is actually open. And it's interesting, his tongue is actually in between his teeth. We'll take a look at the close up with the paint and sculpt. But bigger smile, more menacing. Now on the right hand, he has the cane, as you saw, which was evident in the scene. However, if you were having him display the top hat in the left hand, you could put the pen in the right hand. And here it's not being aimed or thrown. It's more pointing down. Now there's a couple other additional accessories and switch outs that we're going to talk about. However, they don't go with the scene. And a lot of times, I don't look at in-progress pictures of a statue after I order it because I love to be pleasantly surprised when I open a piece. And I believe these accessories that we're about to look at also came with the original piece, and they just kind of threw them in with this one for extras. They don't go with the scene. So I'm probably never going to display them because I want this to be movie accurate. But first on the right hand is he's actually holding a gun, which he did not hold a gun during the mime scene. So I believe this is reminiscent of the regular Joker. So it's just a switch out they threw in because they already had it sculpted. And with this gun, they can also have the bang sign come out, which is towards the end of the movie when he actually is with Kim Basinger. I call it Basinger. Now, a few other cool switch outs, again, that don't tie to this scene, so I believe they just threw these in, and I believe when I unbox the regular Joker, they will also be with it, is the newspaper that was on Carl Grissom's desk. When he said, wait till they get a load of me, and he smeared Carl Grissom's blood all over it. Here's a close-up. And because it is loose, you can put it wherever you want. She said that too. Also, he has his girlfriend Alicia's mask. Here's a close-up of that. And lastly, the toy Chatterbox, where when Batman hit him, it fell out of his mouth. So if you wanted to put it with the statue, you can put it on the base, next to the base, wherever you wanted. As I said, they don't go with the scene. I will not use them. And with so many different display options, I don't want to do the math, but there's probably about 30, 40 different ways to display him. I will either do it this way, or where he's taking his hat off and he has the feather pen in the right hand. So I think it's a negative that the likeness is a little bit off, but I think it's a positive, all the different display options, both movie accurate. Some people like me want it exactly like the movie, and some are okay with a different interpretation. So that's a huge plus. No issues, everything fit really well. So I think it's a 4 out of 5. It's a rail. Rail stands for, people ask me this that aren't familiar with the channel, is not a grail, but a statue I really want. So for design, they get a 4 out of 5, a rail. Now let's jump into the paint and sculpt of this piece. And as we look at it, my initial thoughts, as I said, are just, it's good. And my guess is, before we dive into this, it's going to be a 3 out of 5, a V, a very, very nice, which is a good score. And what I'm guessing is when we look at the Joker statue in a few days or a week or so, kind of to spoil your fantasy, I'm actually filming that right after this. It just won't launch for like a week because it's end of month and all this other shit's going on. But let's start at the base here. Strictly looking at the paint and sculpt, I think the base is done very well. I love the gold and black colors they used all over it. I think it really adds contrast to the statue. It makes it pop. That neat window on the front kind of has this purple stained glass look to it. I think it could have gone without the Joker banner. That's more of a conceptual thing. I don't like my statues to be named. I like the heads they put on the side. Very Gotham-like. It kind of reminds me of the second and third movie, where they really went kind of gaunty with, if that's a word, with Gotham. I like the different stones. You see some pillars on the back. Also, you see the Batman symbol. Cool little Easter egg. Looking at the top, it's these different squares with designs on them. Great swirl in the blacks and the golds. Really, really cool. Then moving on to Joker, and even his feet look a little oversized too, but more with the paint and sculpt. I wish they would have done a little bit more stitching, but I like the shininess of the black and white shoes. Very mime-like. Tuxedo wedding type shoes. Few folds in them as well. And Joker's not someone who really cared too much about fashion, but he wanted to make a statement. Then moving up the pants, the sculpt on these is phenomenal. I thought these were mixed media when I did see a few in-progress pictures that I looked at. Looks really good, and I remember seeing the hand painting of each one too. They did a great job with the paint. All these details, it was hand painted in. I can't really find any mistakes, and I'm looking pretty close. So fantastic job on the pants. This is actually a little bit better than very nice. Let's look at his jacket. There's some underlying texture on here that's hard to see, and I don't know if you're catching any pictures, but I like the flow of it. There's not too many folds or creases. It looks like a brand new, flowing tuxedo jacket. A few buttons in it. That underlying texture. On his arms here, you can see more folds, creases, some seams. Check out his gloves. A little too wrinkly for me. Typically mime gloves, believe it or not, I was a mime for a few years, not kidding. It's too wrinkly for me. I think that's a miss. They wouldn't have been this wrinkly or this thick by any means, but I like the shape of them. Here's a close-up of the pen. Great job on the detail of that. I like the contrast. It doesn't match the movie exactly, but the colors give the statue a good contrast. Let's look at his upper torso here. You see his vest, his shirt, his tie, his bow tie, the huge flower. I don't remember if it was this big in the movie or not, but everything looks like mixed media and it's sculpted, so I think that's well accomplished. The colors, it's almost a different shade of white. Makes everything really pop. Let's start with his portrait with the top hat on. First, the top hat is very plain, which top hats are. Nothing really to write home about on it. But looking at his portrait here, there's a little bit of purple in his paint. I don't know if you can pick that up in the pictures here, but a little bit of purple. So it's not as white as the rest of the statue. The expression is great. In this scene, the red lips were only at the tip, the front right there. You see the, I don't know what this was, some type of issue after his surgery or his accident. I loved the huge smile he permanently had. His eyes are really done well. They look like glass eyes, they're obviously not, but painted very well. I like the dark shades around them. We're going to look at his hair on a separate portrait, but really quick, let's go to that portrait. So same exact sculpt here. You see the same colors. And let's check out some of his hair. I like how it's black and green and wavy all over the place. The individual strands on here are pretty well done. Now another difference you see on here is you see a lot more of the forehead. And his makeup is, there's not exactly, it's hard to tell whether it's makeup or not. So this Joker, which we'll talk more about during the next review, this was the color of his skin. Kind of an interesting fact. Not where Heath Ledger had to paint it on. And then moving to the last portrait, really the only difference on here is around the mouth area on paint and sculpt. And as you see, his teeth are okay. I think the teeth look a little bit fake. They could have used some more definition between them. The coloring could have been a little bit different. And then his tongue, I assume that's his tongue, is kind of crunched up between them. And he did make this expression, not during this scene, but multiple other scenes in the movie. At first I thought it was bad sculpt, and they just didn't do anything inside the mouth there, but it's definitely his tongue. And I think they could have used a different colorization on the tongue. So let's rate the sculpt. I think initially I was thinking it's going to be a 3 out of 5, but I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Another rail. I think there's some really cool aspects to it, especially with the pants and his portrait. I think they did a great job. When you look at a statue and it looks like mixed media and it's not, I think that's a win in itself. I do give the paint a 4 out of 5. Or no, I'm sorry, the sculpt a 4 out of 5, which I did not expect to by any means. Paint, however, other than the phenomenal pants and the base, I like the contrast colors, I think is good. It's a 3 out of 5. I think they could have done a better job on the inside of the mouth. On the portrait, there's a little too much purple going through. So some interesting things. Now, overall, interestingly enough, we had 3 W's and 1 V. So does that mean it's automatically a W? I don't think it is. I look at the statue objectively. Would I ever sell this piece? Well, this is a main character that has been done over and over again, and it's a variant of that character. So it's a tough one. There's some conceptual things that bother me, and really, I don't know why in my head I'm trying to justify not giving this a 4 out of 5. But I'm going to give it a V. That's just my gut feeling, which is still a great statue. It's very nice. And maybe because it's a variant and it's such a small scene, that's what really just nailed him. I'm not sure. We'll see what my feelings are when I rate the other statue. But I'm extremely happy to have it. The fact there's only 10 in the world, I think the execution, I don't want to say it was flawless, but was near flawless. Props to everyone who got this or the regular edition. Props to the commissioning group. They had a vision. They executed it awesomely. Very, very cool piece. So check out a review of some of my other Jokers, and let me know which one you like best. I think Joker is one of the coolest villains out there, and we'll talk more about that in the next review with the normal Joker. Take care, guys.